Everything was perfect, until, in the middle of a bridge crossing a fast-flowing river, the horse carrying, would you believe it, the image of Our Lady, bolts in panic. And worst of all, it stumbles, loses its balance, and the image, along with the animal, falls into the raging river. And what the town thought would be a tragedy turned into something that forever changed the way they viewed divine protection and love. But the question isn't just what happened to the image, but what they felt there, in that confusion, in that moment of terror. Before we begin this journey, do yourself and your loved ones a favor. Write in the comments below the names of people and relatives who need a special prayer. We'll include all these names in our main prayer, praying a rosary, asking for the intercession of the Mother of God in each person's life. The town was small, united by faith and centuries-old traditions handed down from generations of immigrants. That day, the procession was the high point of the calendar, and the central figure was, of course, the grandiose image of Our Lady, firmly fixed atop the farm's calmest and strongest horse. Horses in the procession were the norm. They lent an air of solemnity and respect, and everything proceeded as planned. People sang, children threw flowers on the ground, and older believers prayed quietly, full of fervor. When the procession reached the old wooden bridge, a stretch everyone admired for its spectacular view of the river, something happened. An unexpected sound, perhaps distant thunder or the loud rumble of a truck passing on the nearby highway, shattered the stillness of faith. Suddenly, the animal carrying the Virgin, a horse accustomed to grand events, neighed in fright, its hooves faltered, and control was lost. It bolted. Terror gripped everyone, for the speed of its flight indicated imminent danger, and in that blind rush, the animal was heading for the edge. The processional guide's attempts to restrain the animal were futile. The horse, blinded by fear, was determined to flee from whatever was frightening it, ignoring the commands and the terrified screams of the faithful. The fear on the bridge was palpable. Cries for help and desperate prayers mingled in the air as the animal ran wildly. In a scene of collective anguish, upon reaching a narrower section of the bridge, the horse stumbled violently, losing its balance near the flimsy guardrail. It was quick, but eternal for those watching. The horse, the saddle, and, most importantly, the sacred image of Our Lady, plummeted down the bridge, falling into the dark, choppy waters of the rushing river. The impact of the fall was a frightening silence before chaos returned. Where was the symbol of their faith? Was the saint drowning, or worse, broken beyond recognition? The panic was absolute. Shock paralyzed everyone for a moment, but soon gave way to an explosion of emotion. The most fervent threw themselves to their knees on the bridge, hands clasped, praying for a miracle. Men and women wept, and the priests in the procession, though remaining calm, led loud, unanimous prayers, pleading for help and, above all, for protection for the horse and the image. They knew the current in that section was dangerous, and the image was heavy, made of solid wood. Many ran to the riverbanks, trying to see through the waves and the branches being swept away by the water. Some younger people tried to find ropes and hooks. The desperation was real, the fear of losing not only the statue, but the physical manifestation of their protectress mother, was a crushing weight on the hearts of every believer. No one knew how to effectively help the large, frightened animal struggling to avoid being swept away by the current. But it was at this point of greatest distress, when the darkness of loss seemed certain, that something incredible happened, a sudden and unbelievable sense of peace. Amidst the screams and the roar of the river, a gentle certainty began to emerge in the hearts of those who prayed sincerely. It wasn't the calm of the wind, but an inner serenity, as if an invisible hand were touching everyone. Soon, they realized that, a few meters from the bank, clinging to a fallen tree trunk, the horse was alive and, to everyone's relief, with the image of Our Lady still attached to it, though tilted, but floating. The image seemed to have served, for a moment, as support, protecting the animal's head from the strongest blows of the water. It was at that moment that the desperate prayers turned to tears of gratitude and hallelujahs. Organized by a new sense of calm and purpose, the men used long ropes, throwing them toward the horse, and with an impressive communal effort, began to pull it. The rescue was slow and difficult, requiring the strength of several believers, but order and determination were evident in every movement. As the horse was hoisted, exhausted but unharmed, and the statue was gently pulled to dry land, everyone could see the water dripping from it. Yet there was no significant damage to the statue. It stood there, soaked but whole. And what touched everyone deeply, and remained etched in the town's memory, was the intense feeling that followed. When the statue was reinstated, even dirty and wet, a presence lingered in the air that was impossible to deny. It wasn't just relief at the rescue of the animal and the statue, it was confirmation. The people didn't need speeches. The event of the fall and the peaceful rescue, without injuries, from a river that could have been fatal, spoke for itself. It was as if Our Lady had given a vivid reminder, a baptism in adversity itself. The feeling of love, protection, and unshakable faith flooded everyone's heart. That day, the procession ended differently than it began. The image rode in a safe carriage, wrapped in fresh flowers, and the faithful walked in reverent silence. They had not witnessed an accident, they had witnessed a manifestation. The Mother of God does not shy away from turbulence. On the contrary, she accompanies us and gives us the calm necessary to survive and emerge intact, even when we fall into the roughest of rivers. When that horse bolted across the bridge, it not only symbolized uncontrollable fear, but also how life can throw us unexpected surprises that threaten to sweep away everything we consider sacred and stable. Think about it, your job, a child's health, a relationship that seemed unshakable, all of these could suddenly be your frightened horse that, without warning, threatens to topple into the river of anxiety and uncertainty. The crowd, in that moment of despair, didn't resort to logic or engineering to calculate the speed of the current. They turned to the purest and most urgent prayer, the prayer of, I need help now. This teaches us something vital. In moments of the most acute crisis, when we have no control and our own resources fail, it is the voice of faith, the desperate cry of the heart, that must emerge first. This immediate and sincere prayer is what holds the tide until help arrives, just as the rosary, when recited with the heart in hand, creates a spiritual rope strong enough to lift us out of any whirlpool. We often think that because we are believers and, in the procession of life with God, we are immune to accidents or moments of great shame and failure, like that saint's spectacular fall into the river. What an illusion! This story shows us, harshly but truly, that even the most sacred and imposing object can be toppled by the blind force of an unexpected event. However, the most beautiful thing of all is that Our Lady, even in the icy, choppy water, did not disintegrate and did not lose her function. She, in some inexplicable way, supported the horse and waited to be rescued by her children. What does this mean for you? It means that when you feel ridiculed, a failure, drenched in tears or defeat, when it seems you've fallen in front of everyone, your faith is not lost. Divine motherhood is there, with you in the water, in the mud, in the shame of the fall. Do not fear disaster, don't be afraid to not pray while it happens, for it is at this moment that Mary's gentle presence acts as the anchor that keeps you from sinking. When the horse and the saint fell, the initial reaction was the individualism of fear. What now? What shall we do? Shouts and disorganization dominated the bridge. But note the remarkable change. When sincere prayer rose, the atmosphere shifted from panic to communal purpose. People stopped lamenting and began to act together for the rescue, transforming desperation into focused action. In our daily lives, we are constantly tested by crises that try to isolate us, the illness that strikes only one, the financial problem that isolates the family. This story is a powerful reminder that faith, when real, needs to be lived in community. When you pray for a relative in our main prayer, you are extending the rescue rope. You are joining those men and women on the bridge who use their strength to bring the exhausted horse back to dry land. It's the strength of the we in faith that overcomes the fear of the me. How about taking on this role today, pulling the strings of someone drowning in the comments, praying for the name that appears there? Many might say that the rescue of the horse and the statue was simply luck or the result of a well-coordinated effort. But what everyone in that city swore by and passed on was not the rescue technique, it was the indescribable feeling of peace and love that flooded the procession after the tragedy was averted. It wasn't the statue that saved them, it was the certainty of Mary's presence that banished the panic from the atmosphere. This is the final lesson the mother teaches us. In life's crises, her primary goal is not just to prevent you from falling or to save you from material damage, but to instill in your spirit the profound certainty that you are never alone, never helpless. This love, which manifested itself there with a frightening and beautiful serenity, is the same love we can access through the rosary every day, transforming the fear of falling into the serene recognition that the Mother is always there to lift us up and give us the strength to continue our journey, cleaner and stronger by the water that baptized us. This story of the procession and the fall from the bridge is a mirror for our lives. How many times does the horse of our faith, or the vehicle we use to carry out our lives, job, health, family, bolt in panic and throw us into the river of problems? Just like the believers in that city, the first instinct is despair and screams. But what saves is not the strength of one person, but the power of collective prayer and the peaceful presence of faith we achieve through daily conversion. We need to maintain faith to forgive the stumbles of others, seek the peace that only God gives, and convert moments of panic into opportunities to cry out. We must pray every day, tirelessly, knowing that the Virgin Mary pulls us from turbulent waters. We want more people to find this peace. Therefore, reinforce our chain. If you haven't already, comment now with the name of someone you love who needs intercession, so we can include them in our main prayer of the Rosary. This was an incredible story about how faith and the Mother's presence can transform a frightening event into a testament of protection. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you were on that bridge, what would you have felt the moment you saw the image fall, and what would this sudden calm mean to you? Comment below which part of the story touched your heart the most and how this experience reflects your own journey of faith in times of crisis. Your opinion is very important to us. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive more videos that strengthen your faith and show the beauty of the curious events that surround our journey with God. Share this video with a friend who needs this message of peace and protection. May Our Lady bless you and your family. May you be at peace.